What the Pel is up, everybody? This is Pelicans Plus with Elliot Clough at Elliot Clough on Twitter. You can see we are joined by some very special guys in the Pelicans media today, and we're going to get to that. But before we do, make sure that you subscribe, follow, depending on where you're listening to this podcast, or if you're on YouTube, Facebook, you drop a comment, you subscribe to the channel. Also, this episode is brought to you by Hornitos. Hornitos, the official tequila of Pelicans Plus and Boot Crew Media. And now you might recognize that promo code on the bottom there, that's new. That's new, and that's because we are now with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PLUS, P-L-U-S, PLUS. Bet just $5 on any NBA team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code PLUS, P-L-U-S, this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized sports betting partner of the NBA. If you're in Louisiana, you can still download the app and play for prizes. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 and $1 wager required, one per customer. Excuse me, that wasn't in the script. Restrictions apply. Definitely choked on my own spit there. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And now that we're 10 minutes into the episode, we got all the guys here. We got Justin Napoli from Pro Pels Talk, Raph and Garrick Rattler from Pels Pod. Very excited for this one. Gentlemen, we're going to skip all the pleasantries. We're going to skip all the info because I'm out of breath already. We'll start with the starting lineup, because that has been the conversation all over Twitter this last week. Raph, I'm going to start with you. I mean, we're guaranteed to see BI and JV in that starting five, but what other three are you looking at here?
Sure. So I myself, I'm going to go with Devonte, and Trey Murphy. The reason why I say that is because it spreads out the floor the most. It's kind of similar to, Zion and BI. Kind of let BI be the primary ball carrier and kick out to guys on the wing. So I think that people are going to be focusing in more on BI, obviously with Zion being out. So it's going to be on his job to get other people involved and get going on his end. So I'm excited about the lineup, to be honest with you. I think playing through JV is going underrated in this whole time without Zion, because he carried that Memphis team a lot last year. And so I'll be interested to see if Willie Green goes to him early and often.
Garrick, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Trey Murphy is the answer, but to go a little in Devonte Graham, but to go to a little different, I think I'd go Najee and Trey Murphy. I think if you bring in and Najee, that gives you a little bit of both offense and defense. It'll allow to kind of play more freer, and you can put Najee on that best backcourt player, whatever the case is. I think if you go with those two. If you go with Najee and that full court press, we see Najee likes to press up and play incredible defense. And, of course, having Trey Murphy and out there gives you that offensive, the offensive flexibility to go either way. Like my brother said, man, JV, I always been telling people, man, he's like a good run game in the fourth quarter, man. You give it to him, and it's expected to get two. You expected to get two from JV. So I think, playing through him down low and going inside and out, and having Najee kind of be that defender on the wing. I kind of like that. And bring Devonte Graham and let him do what he does best, man, get buckets.
I like it. Justin, your turn.
I'm going to throw a little wrench in here. I think it's a little surprise in the starting five for me. I think you're going to go Devonte, Josh Hart, Trey Murphy, Garrett Town. No, I'm not. I'm joking about that.
What about
Pelicans Twitter all on your butt?
I had to throw that in now. So I think you go Devonte, Hart, Najee, BI, and JV. That's starting five. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker coming off the bench. I really like him running that second unit, but I've been saying it all along. I don't really care who starts, more of who finishes, and I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to be in that closing group. And, that's all that really matters to me, because as long as Nog gets 30+, I don't care if he's starting or coming off the bench. He's going to get his minutes.
And I'm with that, and we're going to talk about closing lineups and rotations here in a second as well. For me, the starting lineup was kind of, obviously it's going to be difficult for everybody because there's a lot of options, and it doesn't have to be set in stone, right? People talk about it like it's going to be that way all season. No, it's not. Garrett Temple started in the preseason. We're not going to see that hopefully, hope to God that doesn't happen in the regular season. But the way I see it right now, I'm probably going to be obviously BI, JV, Nah, and I had to think here, Trey and Najee. And for me, that's a lot of length. That's a lot of defense. And BI can be the primary scorer. And when BI is the primary scorer and Nah doesn't have to run the second unit, I feel like Nah plays better when there's a BI, when there's a Zion out there. When you don't have to make him the primary creator or the primary scorer in the offense, he's just gonna flourish with BI as the primary point of attack, or JV for that matter. And I like Devonte more in the primary scoring role with the second unit. And I think that when you do that, and then I think JV is going to be your first sub out, right? He's going to be the first one out, and then he can come back in and just run things at that second unit too. And that'll be more of a thing when Zion comes back, to me. But what do you guys think of that? Anybody have any disagreements with me there?
No, I think JV. The key focal point in all of this is the ability that JV's offensive ability. A lot of people are focusing about what the Pels are going to look like without Zion, and it seems like they're reaching for that last year team. And like I said today on iPod, like we have 3 different whole new starters. If you include Nah coming in and kind of being a starter, and he's basically like an addition because he's going to play in a different role than Stan had him. And so I think when people focus on like what the Pelicans are going to look like, you haven't had an offensive weapon at the 5 like JV, and you haven't had like the guard play, the offensive guard play and aggressiveness that Devante Graham is going to bring you. So this is 2 different totally teams. I think if you play through JV and like you say, have Nah kind of come in and just be like the tertiary scorer next to a JV or Brandon Ingram, but have him out there with those guys so that the defense is focusing on him and Nah can just do his thing. And then like you said, Devante Graham, he's more inclined to just come in and get buckets. And if he's not having to focus on having to set people up and get the ball to JV and get the ball to BI, I think that it'll suit him best, especially when you don't have them 27 points and 60% from the field. That people seem to forget that Zion does when he's in a Pelicans jersey. But yeah, so I think I'm right along with you. I'm right along with you, Elliot.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, again, very similar to Nat. It doesn't matter who starts. My biggest thing out of the next 10, 12, however many games that Zion misses is who's going to step up and really become either the primary scorer or the primary facilitator in the second unit, right? So whether Nah's on the bench, whether Devontae's on the bench, whether it's flip-flop, whether they both start, whatever it is, right? There's going to have to be some facilitation of some offensive creation, because when BI sits down, inevitably – there will be some type of lag in offense. So who's getting open shots? Is it Zadaransky setting guys up to be in better position? Is it Kyra being more aggressive, who he showed a little bit in the preseason that, we were kind of down on him after the summer league. So he showed that, hey, I'm trying to get in that. Will it be Herb? He's one of those guys that can turn defense into offense, and that's really what gets this team going, right? When you got Jackson Hayes running up and down the court. So I think it'll be a mix of a lot of people, and I think it might benefit the team to some degree once Zion gets back to say, okay, these guys kind of stepped up. Let's see what more they got, and how can they kind of get this second unit off and run into a hot start.
Yeah, and Raph, you bring up a good point, and I'm glad you brought up those 2 players in Kyra and Herb, because I was pretty big when Kyra got drafted, and I thought last year was kind of just unfortunate, right? With the pandemic, he didn't really he was kind of a G League player. And
Justin was a Kyra fanboy.
I still am.
That's okay. That's okay. All right.
I love Kyra, but I didn't think he got his fair shake last year, because he obviously got in the doghouse with Stan Van Gundy, and that set him back. So this is kind of like his first real year. He didn't even get summer league last year. So as you were saying, Raph, he didn't really have a good summer league, but I thought his last 2 preseason games he looked pretty good. Played a little more confidence attacking the paint. I know he's trying to get that floater game going, but who I love is Herb. I keep hearing this guy. Defensively is a problem, but offensively he's crafty enough, right, to where he can finish around the rim. And we all know if he can get that jumper, the guy's a player. And that's something with Griffin that, I've been really tough on Griffin, but he's drafted very well. I mean, we'll see what happens with Kyra, but Herb's a player, Trey's a player, Jackson's a player, Nah's a player, and obviously Zion. So that's a pretty good draft class. But I think Herb Jones is going to open up some eyes here earlier in these first 2 weeks.
I want to talk about Herb so bad, but I'm going to be patient. One thing I want to say when you talk about Herb, Raph, the first thing I thought was Herb is this year's Najee. Like, we were in love with Najee last year, and Herb's a second-round pick. And, like, when the draft happened, I take all of my information from other people who are draft experts and I roll with it. If I find other information, then that's great. But I knew nothing about Herb. And I remember being disappointed that the Pelicans didn't get JT Thor. And I'm okay with it now.
Yeah, I felt the same way when Sharif and Jared Butler were both on the board. And I was like, we can go. And then they went Herb. I was like, okay.
Right.
Same.
And Jared and Sharif are looking good. Sharif fell off a freaking cliff. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the draft.
Right.
Well, Elliot, I want to cut you off for just a second because we know Herb Jones because he's broken LSU's heart multiple times, and so
and Arkansas with my brother,
and Arkansas. So we've gotten our fair dose of Herb Jones down here in the South.
Yeah, and I mean, defensive player of the year in the SEC this last year. The Pels just added Petty Jr. to their Birmingham squad. Yeah. So Roll Tide.
No kidding.
No kidding. That can't come from me. I'm sorry.
Come on,
that's weird.
I can't do it.
I'm not even an LSU guy, but that's weird. I don't know.
I can't do it.
I tweeted it. I tweeted Roll TI and almost got thrown off the timeline by angry mob. So.
There we go. Anyway, so when we're talking about rotations and who's closing and stuff like that, I mean, the big question for me is is Sato gonna play? Like, what's the point guard position gonna look like? Is Kyra gonna even play? I just don't know if it's gonna be point guard by committee with BI, with Na, Devonte there at the point guard position, and those are 3 starters in my lineup. So I don't know how that's going to work. Are they going to put Sato out there? How many minutes is he going to get? Like 17, 18? And hopefully we don't see anything from Garrett Temple, like we've already said once. And are they going to put the ball in Herb Jones' hands? How much is he going to play? There's a lot of options with how this is going to go. Justin, I'm going to start with you. What you're thinking for the rotation going into this season?
But you said options, right? Like actual options. Like there are options now, which is a very good thing to have. We haven't had really options. We have some depth, right? So it's something good. But point guard is a big hole, and so it's a question mark right now. I'm not big on Sato per se, but Zion was supposed to be this team's point guard, right? And if supposed to be the point guard, I think Kyra's got to take that step. He's got to make that leap. And it's a little unfair to throw him into the fire right now, but. Who knows with Sato? Garrett, did y'all think he looked very good in the preseason? I wasn't. I mean, he's a facilitator, maybe a manager, but that guy's gonna get 17 minutes a night. Well, I don't know about that. So I'd probably rather give it to Kyra or if Devonte doesn't come off the bench, right? And that's kind of like the debate: does Devonte come on the bench? Or come off the bench, or does he start? So I'm looking more towards Kyra running that backup point guard, and then obviously you'll have Trey Murphy, and I think Josh Hart and Herb Jones coming first off the bench, and then Jackson, of course, right? So Jackson was a full participant today. I think he's going to be ready for opening day, so he'll be thrown into that mix as well. So you got a lot of guys.
Yeah. And to piggyback off you mentioned we didn't have options last year. We also didn't have very good coaching. And I feel as if
no shit.
Willie would be the type to say either Kyra's got to go in tonight or he doesn't, or Josh Hart's got to go in tonight or he doesn't. To your point, let's use our bench, right? Let's figure it out who's going to give us that extra punch because, you're down 27 points a game on 60% shooting. You got to figure out how to bring that offense from somewhere, right? And so when you got a lot of guys who are kind of in the same wavelength in terms of skill set, some are a little bit better offensively, some are a little bit better defensively, mix and match, figure out what the matchup is for the day. Don't go in with, here's my rotation. I'm going to make this rotation at the 6-minute mark, and I'm not going to make any adjustments based on game flow. I feel like Willie's the type to say, you know what, Kyra's let it go. Let's bring him in the second unit. Maybe he can give us some juice, right? Zato, we might need you to slow things down. Things are going crazy because Jackson's just going up and down the court like a gazelle. Let me figure out how do I get folks in position to get better when BI has to sit, when JV has to sit, whether Nas got it going on or not, right? And so I think not only having the options, but having a coach that will utilize the options are going to pay dividends early on.
Yeah, just to piggyback off Raph, I've always discussed about how having a former basketball player is going to help in rotations because he's going to have a better feel of, okay, this person might not have the best first quarter, but I know if I can get him back in the second quarter, or whatever the case is. And like Raph was talking about, a lot of times last season we dealt with, hey, I don't care that Najee has 15 points in the first half. He's sitting down in the second quarter, and because that is just how the rotation is supposed to be. And so when you look at this roster, and Willie Green kind of alluded to it today, he was talking about how there's so many different options, and like y'all said, and so many different players that can play so many different positions that he's going to have to make a lot of tough cuts. I mean, not tough cuts, but tough decisions and stuff as far as starting lineup and things go. And I think just from him saying that, you can kind of hear that he wants to use as many people. He wants to see how many of these people can play and how many of these people, what rotations work and how many of these players can mesh together. And so I think, if you can go with, Satoransky was brought in, I think, kind of as like a placeholder, right? So people want this veteran point guard when things are going crazy. We saw last year with Lonzo, when the ball just kept going up, we were trying to get it up, moving so fast that there was nobody to kind of say, hey, slow down, because Brandon Ingram is young, Zion is young, Noah is young. You have all of these players that are just trying to get a bucket up. And so now you bring in Satoransky to be that de facto veteran point guard. But as we see, I think, if you play him over Kyra, what does it do to his ceiling? Like, does it hurt his development? And how long does it saddle, for the Pelicans? And so on the Pelicans. And so, if the plan is to either package him or move him or whatever the case is, are you willing to kind of hinder Kyra's development in doing that? And so if it were me, I would also play Kyra. Like I said, we were down on him after the summer league, but he's starting to kind of get it together. You saw it, like you said, the last couple preseason games, and I just think that he's ready to play. And so if you give him a couple of minutes here or there while Zion is out and let him earn that trust from Willie Green, I think that'll pay off further down the line.
Listen, he's got to play. Like Peyton Pritchard got like 20-something plus minutes last year.
Right.
This is on the Boston Celtics, right? And the kid's got to play. If you're not going to play him, then send him to the G League so he can get some minutes, because you're not going to get any better if you don't play. Like, you got to play. And I feel like last year he just didn't play, and Sam Van Gundy was a joke of a coach and it was a wasted year, like to your point, Raph. So I think you're going to see Kyra get a shot early on, hopefully.
Okay. All right. So let me ask y'all this. So do you think, if it comes down to it, who's going to be playing more between like Josh Hart and Herb? Like, if it comes down to pulling one of those two players, because you have Josh Hart there, but like Herb, if Herb can hit what he hits, it looks like Herb could be a supercharged Josh Hart. And so where would you go, with that?
I'm bouncing this to Justin because he's got his fingers up, but also because he said a couple weeks ago, probably on the pod we all did together, Herb's going to take Josh Hart's minutes, but he just said that Josh Hart's going to start. So pressure's on, Justin.
I didn't know Zion. I didn't know Zion was going to be out.
Fair point.
I think Herb's going to take that jump. I'm so excited about him, but we don't have to keep talking about him. I'm really excited about him.
You're right.
Yeah, I can say I a couple more times, but I like Herb Jones a lot. And again, it's preseason, it's summer league. We haven't seen him in legit NBA action yet, right? I don't want to. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. But I hope that he can elevate to that level as quickly as we're hoping he can. Mm-hmm. I mean, he is 23. He's a little bit older. Of course, he's got that length. He's got that experience playing a bunch of years at Alabama. So I don't know that that's something we're going to see a lot of. And I think we're all on the same page in thinking that Josh Hart could probably get traded by the deadline this year. And if and when that happens, Herb, I think his minutes will significantly increase. And you mentioned Sato being a position holder, a placeholder. I mean, he's probably going to get traded at the deadline along with Josh Hart too. I mean, that's the mock trades we saw all offseason is Josh Hart and Sato and XYZ going to the Kings for Buddy Hield, right? That's all we saw. So that's my guess right there. And did you guys have anything else to say about that? Because I have another question in regards to rotations and lineups and stuff.
No,
go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
No. Mm-hmm. Okay. Jackson Hayes. I've seen some discourse on Twitter about him playing the 4 this year. To me, that's largely dependent on how well he can shoot the three. But obviously, he adds a lot of athleticism to a front court in Billy Hernan-Gomez and Jonas Valanciunas that doesn't offer a ton of athleticism.
The 1 inch vertical crew, man.
Right. Right. But and you can put him at center if you want to just run Justin like
Gotta
that
be a
one
shirt.
day. And if you want to put center in, or excuse me, Jackson in and just run, you can do that with a big long lineup with Herb, Najee, and maybe not Najee or Bi or Trey. There's a lot.
Just listen to all of the names you listen to. Oh man, it just feels so good to hear all of these.
So it's not Nikolai
available,
Melli,
yeah,
not James
available
Melli.
players.
Raph, what do you think about Jackson playing the 4, or what do you think about how the Pels will use him this year?
Well, listen, I mean, when it comes to Jackson and both they can do no wrong. So in my eyes, listen, I was on to it really early when it came to Jackson. His ability to switch on the perimeter and defend is, man, listen, there's not a lot of 5s that can do that in the league, period. Like Gobert gets exposed in the playoffs. I am very intrigued to see the stats on when Jackson gets switched out to the perimeter, how often that ends in 2 points. Because almost every time I saw it, I'm like, man,
Garrett, can I cut you? Or, I'm sorry, Raph. Can I cut you off for a second just before you finish your thought? Because I lost my shit last year because Steven Adams would close out games. I'm like, Jackson Hayes could easily just close the game out. You switch 1 through 5 and call it a day. But
Steven Adams in drop coverage against Damian Lillard.
Donovan Mitchell.
It was an inside job last season.
Sorry, I just had to get that point in, right?
No, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, he has the ability and the athleticism to play the 4. I still think his natural position is the 5. Like, I think, again, he's really young too. Like, we gotta remember, like, the core of this team is not even close to their prime. Even Bi, not even really close to his NBA prime, which is a scary thing to think about, right? This guy's still growing into his body. I think with another year, next year, I think he'd be able to hold down the 5 spot by himself. But right now, you kind of saw it in the preseason. Cat kind of bullied him, right? But how many cats are there in the league? How many 5s are putting their back to the basket and dominating you like that? And so, you can get away with it most now. Joel, you probably don't want Jackson against Joel.
Joel, and I think of Jokic too.
You don't want him getting.
But nobody can guard those 3 guys. So
right. I'm about to say, good. Exactly. If you put JV or Steven Adams out, then they're getting scored on too. So I mean,
last year was such a joke. I can't believe last year.
Really bad.
Yeah, but I mean, to kind of put a bow on it, I think Jackson can play either or. Do I want him starting next to JV? Probably not. Do I want him at the 4 with Billy at the 5? Probably not either, right? I want as much space and as much ability to shoot on the floor. And if he can hold down the 5 spot, I don't really see the need for a 4 when you got Trey and you got Herb.
Yeah, we're gonna see Bi at the 4 this year too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think I like my bad, just
no.
I like Jackson a lot. Like, my brother, he is Jackson Hive. He's been Jackson Hive for 2 years now. Like, Jackson, he created a character on NBA 2K, which we play every day, that is Jackson Hayes. He literally created Jackson Hayes. But like, I mean, you look at Jackson and you look at all of the different things that he can do on the floor, both offensively and defensively, just being a rim runner, and just what I think that Jackson can bring in. I think we talked about this early on one of the pods. I think when you mentioned Gobert, like, Gobert allows players to push up and play defensively harder because they know they have a shot blocker behind them, and that increases the defensive intensity. Well, if you don't have a shot blocker behind you, you're trying a little bit, trying to protect yourself and protect them from getting to the goal. Whereas if you can play up on somebody, and I think that plays into the defensive guys that's on the bench, like a Herb, like Dede, like Najee, like players like that who will literally, and Josh Hart, who will literally like hinder the ball handler. And if you have Jackson back there, swatting balls away, that gives you even more of a reason to play up. And I think, just rim running, and if this 3-ball, if this jump shot, even if it's not cash, if he's a threat, in meaning, like, if he takes 1 or 2, if he takes 2 a game or 3 a game and hits 1, and he becomes just a threat, as in, okay, we have to guard that guy because he's out there. that opens up the entire thing because now you have to worry about an offensive threat both as your starter with JV and then also as your backup. And there's not too many players, not too many, defenses that have answers for that. So, I like Jackson a lot. I think Jackson has a lot of game to kind of grow into. We saw glimpses of it once he got benched and he came back and he just was a man on fire. So I think, if with some time and, we don't have to thrust him into the front lines anymore because of JV here. So I think that'll be another year to kind of cultivate and learn what he can and grow some more. But I'm really excited about Jackson. I think he's going to be, this is going to be a really good year for him.
Jackson shoots 34%. Changes everything.
Yeah, everything. It blows everything up. Everything is not the whole offense. It looks entirely different if they can do stuff like that.
But you know what I love, and I saw this in some of the preseason games with Jackson before he got hurt, or I think the first preseason game. I love that Willie just let him shoot it, right? I feel like Stan Van Gundy, oh, this guy's shooting again. You're getting that little curmudgeon response. I feel like Willie lets you play.
Impeccable SVG impression, Justin.
Yeah, that was. I don't know where that came from. That was just a little fucking curmudgeon. I can't get him out of my head. Sorry for cursing. But no, I'm very excited about Jackson Hayes too. And two, I think that his dad moving down here after the everything that happened this summer, right? I think that's a really big step for him. He's got to mature. He's got to play. He's been hurt, and he's missed summer league. He's missed preseason. But I feel like dad, parents are in town, head straight on. You don't really hear much from him anymore, right? No Instagram and all this different kind of bullshit. I feel like he's focused. I feel like he's ready to take a good leap this year.
And you saw what happened when he got focused, when he got benched and then he got focused. It was crazy. So just imagine a season like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll put it this way. Again, this is my guy, and I can wax all day about Jackson. There's not a lot of people who can jump with Jackson. And so the mere pick and roll and his diving ability that's when the Pels were hitting their stride. Now, if you give the pop to him as well, if you give a step, he's going over top. And that's 2 points, and you ain't jumping with him. And now you got guys who can give him the ball. Devontae's a really good passer. And Naw is a better passer than people think. And so, man, I think that guy, and he brings a nastiness to him. He tries to dunk on people. I think we need that. We have too many nice guys. You need a guy who's going to set the tone and be like, no, man, y'all ain't walking over the Pelicans today. Yeah. Jackson's that guy, man. The fact that he said he takes a lot from James Johnson, I'm like, that's what we need on the team. Yeah. You need Naj, you need Herbs, you need guys like that.
You know what else is? Go ahead.
I was going to say he showed last year that he won't fold when there's a challenge in front of him. When he got benched, it would have been easy for him to say, "Whatever, I'm done. It's SVG's fault." And then with this thing happening this season or this off season, which obviously awful, none of us wanted to see that. But it's just bits and pieces are coming together in different ways. And when you face trials and tribulations, it forges a man. And I think we can all agree on that. And he almost killed Reggie Jackson.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And I was here for it all.
Elliot,
I had the chalk outline ready.
I need to get a gif of Elliot doing this, and every time Jackson Hayes does a poster, I'm gonna have to post that.
We gotta. If somebody's listening that can do that, go for it, because I have no idea how to make a gif. But anyway, the other thing that I was gonna say is that I also don't see him at the 4. Just to revert back a little bit, strictly a 5 in my mind's eye. And when you have that, you don't necessarily in that depth. Obviously, there's going to be injuries and stuff like that, which is an awesome thing in terms of the depth that the Pelicans have this year, because somebody's going to get hurt, something's going to happen. And when you're healthy, you don't as much as we all love Billy Hernan Gomez, you don't have to play Billy Hernan Gomez.
Yeah. Right.
So.
I love Billy, but Jackson just brings a different element than Willie, and I mean it just is what it is. And I love Willie. Willie is Mr. Double. I mean, you put him in double, but I mean if we're talking about competing and being at the best versions of ourselves, I think Jackson as a backup 5, rim running, kind of giving you a kind of if JV's your thunder, then he's your lightning. Come in and kind of run up and down and block shots and be flying everywhere. I think that's the best version of the Pels, just having that kind of switch up between them two.
And one thing Jackson's gotten a lot better at is the short roll later in the season. He was getting that short roll instead of taking a dribble and going up, he was kicking to the opposite corner, which was leading to open threes. Now, be it was Eric Bledsoe, it was an automatic brick, or
last year was not real. It was
it was a fever dream.
This year he's going to have shooters around him, so when he catches that short roll, he's got that defense collapsing, he can kick it to the opposite corner, hit corner threes, and that's something that I think he's really progressed and matured from Derek Favors and Steven Adams, because those two guys were actually good at doing that. So Jackson Hayes, you see the progression coming.
Yeah, I think he's a very underrated passer. Which, again, this guy is,
according to Raph, he's very underrated. Just overall.
Listen. This guy, you got to remember, we knew he was a project coming in. Like, he didn't start as a freshman. It took him like halfway through the season, and then he was picked 8th overall. And so, like, to see his progression, he's probably in the top tier in terms of athleticism of big men in the league. Like, there's not a lot that I would put him over him. So if he can, you tell the strokes there. Like, just by the way he shoots free throw, I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be able to shoot.
Yeah, it's
the thing to me that really kind of sets it over, to Justin's point earlier, is the maturity. Not only did hey, you bring your dad in to kind of ground you, but the wherewithal to figure out, hey, if I'm gonna grow in this team next to Zion Williamson, I need to be able to shoot the ball. Like, I gotta be able to shoot the ball at the 5, because I can't just sit in the paint all day. I've got to be able to add more things to my game. So the fact that he went into this summer was like, that's what I'm going to focus on. And you hear everybody talk about, oh, Jackson can shoot now. Like, that only bodes well for, I think, that guy's future on this team.
And if JV's out and Jackson starts and Zion's back and healthy, most athletic lineup in the NBA right away. Like, you don't have to. You could tell me Garrett Temple and Sato are starting, and it'd still be the most athletic lineup in the NBA.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's waiting on, whenever we can get it, that either Naw and Jackson bookends, and then having Trey, Zion, and BI in there, and just having everyone go crazy. Just go crazy. I think everybody's waiting on that.
You could have Trey and BI stand on opposite sides of the court, stretch out their hands, and they probably touch each other.
And then just have Jackson in front of the rim like that.
Yeah.
Maybe the Pels play a little zone this year. Maybe the Pels play a little zone this year.
Bro, with all of them lengthy arms, bro, that's not a problem. I don't see that's why that wouldn't be a thing.
Now, Stan Van Gundy wouldn't do it. Willie Green would do it.
Yep.
He'd make an adjustment.
Well.
I gotta say, I'm gonna say it very quickly. I could not be more in love with Willie Green. I am enamored. If they made this hire last year, we'd be astronomically ahead compared to where we're at right now. Mm-hmm. But they made the hire. That's what matters is he's around. And now we've talked about rotations. We've talked about some more things that are going to be more pertinent coming up here, but we have to talk about Zion. This is a situation that is just kind of annoying, and we were misled by Griff. Shocker, who would have thought? And by Zion for that matter. I mean, where are you guys at with this whole thing? Are you hopeful he's back sooner rather than later? Are you more of in a next man up, forget about it kind of mentality, or hoping he's back by Christmas? Where are you at? Garrick, you go ahead.
Like I said earlier in today's pod, I think I'm more of the look. I'm conditioned to the darkness. I was born in the darkness. I'm so used to our players being, some of our more major players being hurt, that it's like if he's out, then fine. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. Obviously, we were misled. Obviously, Zion misspoke. Obviously, there was some setback. Something happened that obviously we won't be getting him for at least 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the case is. My thing is, the team, this roster is more. It's not the same roster as last season, and so you have more. This roster is more ready to deal with this situation than last season, right? I think a lot of people are reverting back to last season, thinking about Bledsoe and Steven Adams and that roster that we had. But I think, if you just look at the totality, like if the Pelicans can stay within 500 or 1 to 2 games within 500 while this crazy situation is taking care of itself and Zion comes back, then I think the Pelicans will be definitely, still in a position of where they want to be, being in that play-in position, or maybe even a little better than that. And so, I'm of the mindset, like, look, he's hurt. He's not going to be here. But we have Brandon Ingram. We have Zion. I mean, we have Naw. We have Devonte Graham. We have JV. If the players that we've been tweeting about and podcasting about and talking about, everybody's tweeting Naw Hive. Everybody's excited about Jackson and excited about JV and excited about what Brandon Ingram's going to do in his development and things like that. If we feel this way about these players, then we have to give them the opportunity to go out there and compete, because we've seen this team pull out wins when it's like they won that game. How did they do that? And that was playing 2.5 on 5, or at that point 1.5 on 5, and then also being handicapped by the former coach. And so now you don't have that. You have a better roster around this team, around Zion and Brandon Ingram. You have more offensive options. You have Trey Murphy, who we were begging for that player last season and probably the season before that. And like, here he is now. And so you have this player there. So you have to give everybody an opportunity to come out there. And if you think that they're going to be terrible and disappoint, that's fine. I understand. And I get the frustration, but like, at least give them a chance to disappoint you. Like, don't just straight up go on to it and be at these players like, oh, we lost Zion, so you guys suck. And so like I asked on the iPod, like, bro, are we Pels fans or are we Zion fans? Because I get it. Like, I love him and I hope he's back. And I hope he, and when he gets back, he's going to come back and be 27 and 6. But we have other talented players. And so my mindset is like, bro, look, I'm not going to throw water on the whole entire team because Zion is Zion and dealing with Zion things. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good, bro. Justin, you and I have shared some frustration with the whole situation.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go ahead.
Very warned is frustration.
I mean, listen, I went off on a podcast last week about Zion, my thoughts.
It's all good. It's all good. That's funny the way you admitted that.
Eric, to your point, I'm just like sick and tired of everything. Like Anthony Davis for 7 years, that was miserable. Like, let's call a spade a spade. That was miserable. DeMarcus Cousins, we're finally becoming a team. DeMarcus Cousins tears his Achilles. Chris Paul leaves. Like, everyone just wants to leave. Like, I just want Zion to be Zion. And I feel like ever since Zion got here, it's just been the Zion show. And then to y'all's point, the Pelicans. Like there's some good players on this roster. And I don't know why Zion doesn't see that. Now, yes, he broke his foot. I understand things happen, injuries happen. But every year the guys come on overweight. He was overweight his rookie season. We all remember that. Yeah, they shut him down the summer league. Then he gets hurt with the meniscus, comes back for 15 games, pandemic. Then, once again, with the bubbles coming back, he randomly leaves for 9 days, 15-minute break. Y'all know the story. Then this summer, right? It was not a fun. Thank you for that. It was not a fun offseason, right? Like, Zion's family was all pissed off, and we want to get out of New Orleans and all this stuff. And I just wanted the guy to show up. And then what happens? Shows up. Miraculously, he breaks his foot and nobody knows about it besides David Griffin. I mean, we talked about this. Zion Williamson is probably the most popular 21, 22-year-old besides a TikToker in this entire world. Everybody who knows Zion, like, you see Zion. He was at USC, he was at Duke, he was at frat parties. Like, no one really saw him in a boot. Like, it was just very odd, the whole thing. And then, we're finally excited for the season. Trey Murphy has a great summer league. They go undefeated, all these great positive things. And then media day comes and you hear the piano and you hear David Griffin and Zion don't like each other. And it's just, I'm like tired of talking about it. I'm excited that basketball is actually going to start on Wednesday, but I just want to see Zion get right, get healthy and come back and take it seriously. And let's like go win some games and get to the playoffs. Cause listen guys, this is his third year. We haven't sniffed the playoffs, like not even close. So I'm tired of it. Just show up, play basketball. Let's win some games.
Raph, how you feeling?
I feel that, bro. Like a eulogy. Like,
nah. And look, man, like your feelings are justified, right? Like, obviously, we got this hype, this heap of momentum, and every time it just feels like our legs are cut up. But the where I'm at is I'm so excited about this roster and Willie Green that, like, obviously you can't ignore 27 points per game on 6% shoot. Like, stuff that nobody does at 21 years old, right? I can't ignore that, right? And so that's part of the frustration, right? That's part of it. But at the same time, like, man, look, I think people are sleeping on what BI is going to do this season. Like, the guy has gotten better every single year he's been in the league. So then this offseason, You see he put on weight. You see that he's embracing the leadership role. You see that he's gathering the team together. So the knocks that weren't here was, first he can't shoot the three. He can shoot the three. He can't pass. Then he can pass. He starts locking in from a leadership perspective and carrying. Now the next step is, does he play defense? Does he embrace the role? And you could already see in the first couple minutes he was in, I was like, okay, B.I. actually cares this year on the defensive end. And so that tells me he's buying into Willie Green. And so, I'm at the point where I'm so confident in what Naw can bring and what Jackson can bring and what JV can bring, what Devonte can bring, that like people look at the Clippers roster and I'm like, okay, yeah, you got Paul George left, you got Reggie Jackson, but then like it's a bunch of guys on that roster. But people are like, the Clippers are a top 5 seed. Why? They don't have Kawhi for the whole year. And so to me, I'm like, yeah, we're probably going to be without Zion 10, 12, however many games. But that's not a reason to look at this roster and be like, they got no shot. Right. And so and so to me, like, I'm not going to let that knock me off I'm excited for this team train. Because I think that the piece that we added, especially in the coaching element, the guys that are coming back a year older, a year more mature, with more to their game, and Najee, and Jackson, I think if we're so excited about what that team could be with Zion, him not being there shouldn't derail us and be like, we're going to be picking top 5 again.
And Raph, I'm glad I got to sign off here in a second. So I'm going to get my last thoughts. But a lot of people that we're forgetting about, like that, as on the coaching staff, is Mike D'Antoni, who I've heard has done some really good things with this offense. Like everyone, like kind of just forgot about that. But that's what I'm talking about, Raph. Like there are so many good things about this team, and I'm just so sick and tired of like the national media and everything being about Zion. That let's focus about Willie Green. Let's focus about Trey Murphy. All those different kind of things, because this team is good. And guess what? So towards Garrick's point, if this team can go 8-6, 9-5, and then get Zion back, get him healthy, everything like that trade deadline does become interesting, because then you're going to see I think Griffin move some pieces and try to acquire a bigger guy. So I got to sign off. I got to go ahead, but I appreciate everybody. Go Pels, opening night Wednesday. Are any of y'all going to be there?
We'll be there. Yeah, we'll be there.
Let me know. I'll shoot y'all a text for sure.
Yes, sir.
I will not be there. I'll be in Iowa.
But you're gonna come. But you're gonna come December, Elliot.
Yes, I will. I will.
So.
Thanks for stopping by, Justin.
Good seeing you. I'll see y'all Wednesday.
All right, man. But yeah, I think it's very I just think it's very disingenuous to like what we were talking about with Brandon Ingram. Just like the same amount of like vitriol and the same amount of coverage and the same amount of negativity that is put into Zion and his weight and his injury and all of that. Like, I just feel like there isn't the same amount of positivity and the same amount of coverage on like Brandon Ingram coming back and being more in shape than we've ever seen him. The Pelicans maybe getting the steal of the draft in Trey Murphy, you know what I'm saying? Finding a second round gem in what could be Herb Jones, you know what I'm saying? Like bringing in what could possibly have been Memphis's best regular season player in Jonas Valanciunas. And it's just like, yes, Zion, and I get it. He's the story. He's the franchise. He's the face of the franchise. And when he's missing, things need to happen. But I mean, come on, man. Like we have other things outside of that to be excited about. And I just don't think, and it's not all rose-colored glasses, because the Pelicans are going to lose games and they're probably going to look bad at some point. And, and it'll be, this is why Zion doesn't want to be here, even though Zion isn't playing. But that's just how the story goes. But I'm saying, like, this is a very talented team. And I'm just excited about the others.
This team, they have youth, they have flexibility, they have a coach who knows what the hell he's doing. They have depth, and they're just going to be fun as hell. They got speed. They're going to run up and down and up and down and up and down. And
if things need to be changed, there is cap room, there's flexibility, there's tradable contracts, there's assets, there's all kind of stuff there. So this is something to be, if there needs to be changes, if Zion comes back and we are like right there and there needs to be changes and there's a trade available, we have the assets to make that trade.
And the other thing, too, is about this level of depth. When you look at Josh Hart getting regular minutes, around this time without Zion, Herb Jones is probably going to play more. And you're getting to a point where you can lean on the fact that he has played actual NBA minutes. When Zion's back, maybe he takes over Josh Hart's minutes, and you can include Josh Hart in a trade. Yep. So and
think about that, Elliot. Last year, we were like, what do we do when Josh Hart went down? It was like, what do we do now on the bench? We have no idea. We lost our sixth man. Now we're like, get that guy out the rotation.
Played regular minutes last year.
He's not in the league. Neither is JJ Redick. Neither is Wes Iwundu. Neither is James Nunnally. Neither is none of those players are in the league anymore.
Nope. And I won't take any slander about Wenyen Gabriel, but he.
Oh well, yeah. I know your affinity for Wenyen Gabriel. We'll leave it there.
Yes. So one more thing that we'll have a couple more questions. We're going to take it to about an hour tonight. Which player are you guys most excited about? I know it was Justin. It was Herb Jones. We're gonna shift here to a level of excitement and the positives going into the season. So Herb Jones is a huge one. Is there any other player, even a player who's been around like Nah and or like Jackson Hayes, like I know you guys both love, that you're most excited about going into this season? Garrick, you go ahead.
So everybody knows how I feel about Nah. I think this is the jump for Nah. So I've talked ad nauseum about him. So they know how I feel about Nah. But somebody that I'm really, really, really interested in seeing in this Pelicans team in a role and whatever role that they're gonna have is gonna be Najee. I think this is a good year for Najee. I think, if you think about Najee and you think about, what he did last season, he came off the bench, came out of nowhere and was like our savior, right? He was like, hey, this guy came in and he's bringing tenacity, he's bringing energy, he's bringing care, he's picking people up full court, he's knocking down threes. He's like, where did this guy come from, right? And then all throughout the season, like as this game went on, like he didn't tail off as like some some flash in the pan player. Like he continued to play well. He continued to do the things that made us so excited about him and so, and made us so energy. So fast forward into the summer league. And before the summer league started, we did a podcast and I said, I want to see the second year players who are playing. I want to see you separate yourself from these younger players and things like that. And so Najee did that. Najee looked like the best player on the team. Najee looked like the best player on the floor. He looked like that player in a bunch of games. And so that's what you want to see from a second year player. Like, show me that you're better than these guys, than these young guys, than these rookies. And he did that. And so now you fast forward it into this coming season, and now we don't know if Najee's going to start. We don't know if he's going to be the spark plug coming off the bench. We don't know if he's going to be just like this defensive ace. We don't know what's the role for Najee. And so when you have a player that some people are okay with him, like myself, if we need to while Zion is out, with him starting, and then you have some people who's like, well, if he's just used as a defensive ace, then we're probably in the best place. So you have this range of like, what are the roles that he could play? I think that's very intriguing. And the best part about it is I think that he'll be able to live up to whatever it is, whatever role that he is. If he needs to start, I think that he'll be a plus player. He'll pick up defensively, and Najee won't be the reason we lost the game. And so I'm very interested to see how he fits in this role, how he fits in this team with these new additions, and like how Willie Green deploys his defensive ability, his tenacity. And I just want to see him, just take another step, like become, an actual role player on a good team. And if he does that, that's just another weapon for Willie Green's disposal.
Raph, before you go, Najee, I forgot he was a rookie last year. I forget he's a second-year player.
The whole team, man. It's just people forget we've got these expectations, but you got to think like our best player 21 and our second best player 24. Like the Pels are in a good spot. Like if they can keep it together and just grow it, in a good spot. But to answer your question, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say Jackson. Those are my cop-out answers. I'm not going to say Trey because that's a cop-out answer. My answer is Devonte Graham. And the reason why is because I don't think we had a guy like that on the roster last year. And what I mean by that is not just the ability to shoot, but a closer. Like a guy who's got ice water in his veins. Like, hey, wave off BI, wave off Zion. I'm going to win this game for us. When that guy's got it going, like he was third in the rookie most improved 2 years ago. Like that guy can score, right? Yeah, they drafted LaMelo, so it took him out of his element. But I think having a guy like him, especially while Zion is out, I think the preseason he was in there trying to figure out his flow, figuring out how he mixed with the team. He was setting other guys up a lot. But in his role, which I think the best role for him is that six man to play with JV or to play with Zion when BI and JV sit down or whatever it is, where you just go get buckets off the bench. I think that guy's going to be a pleasant surprise for people because the guy can hoop. And when he's on the court with Zion and Zion's driving to the lane, if they kick it out to just like he was doing this with Trey Murphy, as soon as he would let it go, Zion's gonna pass the ball, and everybody's gonna walk to the other side of the court because he's gonna be cashed from three. So, man, I'm excited for his growth. I think his fit on this team is gonna, especially when Zion gets back, is gonna fit in seamlessly.
I had Brian Geisinger of BuzzBeat. I had to look it up on my phone to see what podcast it was. But from BuzzBeat, he's with Blue Wire Pods to talk about Devonte Graham. Mm-hmm. I don't even know. That was a couple months ago. But his shot-making ability is just like coming off pin downs, shot creation off the dribble, catch and shoot. I was a little bit iffy. I mean, he's really short. He's a small guard. Yeah. What is he, like 6 foot? 6 foot?
Yeah, if that's genuine. You're being generous if you say 6 foot. I don't think he might be that tall, but
right. And so now with Kyra Lewis, you got 2 undersized guards on the roster, which not great. But when Devonte is on, and you look up his highlight tape, and it's a few crazy layups, but other than that, it's just a bunch of 3-point shots.
Yep. What did we cry for last? What did we cry for last year?
Exactly. And I was calling for an archetypal 3-and-D player, and that's what the Pels got in Trey Murphy. I kept saying, "Are we going to replace Kenrich Williams, or is he?"
Really? Yeah. I would have used Kenny Hustle last season, bro. Yeah. We went from not having any players from guard to center, like nobody in the middle, to now the Pelicans are officially Wingstop. So shout out to Rick Ross.
So like you guys said, it'd be easy to pick Nod, be easy to pick Jackson. I'm going to let Justin have Herb Jones because I think we're all really excited about him. And it'd be easy for me to say TM3. I was on the TM3 train before he was selected. We were at 17. I was tweeting Trey Murphy.
Okay. All right. I see you.
So thank you. I was ahead of time. But if I'm going to pick somebody that, if I'm going to follow the trail that you guys blazed just a moment ago, I'm going to roll with probably JV. Honestly, I just think he's going to fill it up. I mean, last year with Memphis, we are just not, there's moments where they're a young team. They couldn't get buckets and like, oh, well, we got JV. There you go. 17-12. 17-12 in the NBA is nothing to be taken lightly. Right. And while Zion's out, he can continue to work on spacing out a little bit more from the basket. I mean, this is a guy who is, underrated. I think he's very underrated. He's got to be, he's at the very least a top 8 center in the NBA.
Absolutely.
At least. And with Zion out, he'll be able to feast.
Yeah, absolutely. He had games last season where he would go 25 and 20. And I would ask any Pelicans fan, like, did we have 25 and 20 out of the centers combined total? Because that this is totally different. This is something we never experienced. And so, just when he came in his first game, and his first shot, when he hit the trail 3, I was like, oh, that's gonna be some problems. That's gonna cause some issues. And like just having an offensive threat at the 5, I think it's just gonna be. You just think about that center all last season who did not care about what was going on behind him. He was just watching Brandon Ingram, watching Zion. When you take a step, Zion, I'm taking a step. And them guys still went over 25 plus a game. And so if you just think about that center saying, okay, I got to watch Zion, but like I got to keep a hand on JV and I got to feel him. And if I don't feel him, I got to turn my head to find him because he could be diving. He could be flaring out for a little jump or whatever. And just that split second to turn in your head, Zion is at the bucket. Brandon Ingram is at the bucket. Noah is at the bucket. And so that's just something totally different that they're not, that Brandon Ingram, Zion, and no, they just didn't see that last season. And so JV is definitely, I'm excited about what JV can bring.
And literally every player on this roster is at least somewhat of a threat farther away from the basket, other than like Billy Hernangomez and Didi, who right. Billy will get minutes this year. Didi, I don't think so.
Yeah, probably.
So it's just completely flipped on its head. Well, for like the third year in a row.
Yeah, no kidding.
But in a good way this time, not with Eric Bledsoe and not with Steven Adams. So positive. One more question that we'll hit before we get out of here. We won't get a ton of answers from this game on Wednesday, but early on in the season, these first 10, 15 games, what's the number one question that you want answered through those 10, 15 games? Raph, if you need a little time to think. Garrick, if you need a little time to think. I don't have one, so you're going to not get very much time to think. Garrick or Raph, I'll let you go ahead.
My biggest thing is, did BI take the next step on D? Because if he does that, I think that changes the outlook of the team. Because that means everyone is bought in except for number one. Well, we don't know, that to be determined. But if BI shows that initiative that, hey, I am the leader of this team, I'm going to lead by example, I'm going to hustle on D, I'm going to get everyone involved, I'm going to take that next step, which I think he has or has at least bought into, I think that takes the team to a different level. If your best players are playing defense on this team, I think the team can go as far as they take them.
We've been saying the same thing for 3 years now.
Yeah,
and I said that before we started the pod when we were talking about BI. It's nut up or shut up time, man. We hear about how much he wants to win, how much he's leading the team from the coaching staff, from other players. And we saw, I think it was the first game of the season when he brought everybody in and had that huddle, and then we never saw it again. So yeah. I'm looking for consistent leadership and consistent defense from him and talking. I mean, in the preseason, I heard a hell of a lot more talking than I have the last 2 years.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, it's night and day on the bench attitude, the guys standing up, waving towels. Like, what team is this?
Yeah,
this ain't the Pels.
I know. We come a long way from Zion being asleep on the bench.
I was about to say this is different. Guys were bucking. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So, I mean, you're absolutely right, Elliot. It's one of those things where you got to see it, right? We talked about it. The summer league showed it. We saw glimpses of it, while BI was in, but let me see it through 10 games. Let me see the effort. Let me see not falling asleep and letting backdoor cuts over and over and over. Let me see it. And if you get that level, I think the team matches you there. So,
yeah, I mean, absolutely. The number one question is going to be the defensive end. It's going to be, can you get there? Has Willie Green got the buy-in from the guys, and have they turned up on defense? But I think one question that I'm going to be so interested in is, what did the Pels get with Trey Murphy? Because I want to see just how good this guy is. I mean, you look at his shooting, and you look at his defensive intensity and just his IQ and the way he moves. I think a lot of people are afraid to kind of like say how good that this guy can be, because of nobody wants to be wrong and stuff like that, and that's fair. But I think he is not. Again, we talk about regular rookies. Is this a regular rookie? This is a guy that's 50, 40, 90. And I mean, this is translating. You saw it in summer league, and you saw it in preseason. Like, he's not tailing off, and he's not getting worse. And then you start to see, like, he's getting even more confidence. He's celebrating after threes. He's getting up underneath Brandon Ingram and talking with Brandon Ingram and joking with him and like calling him like nicknames on like, he's starting to get comfortable among the leaders and stuff on the team. And then when you hear him talk, he's just a stoic, kind of like a good, like, a good young man, but like he's very strong in his word and his conviction in the way he talks about things. And so you can
tell he was raised well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the way he answers, and he looks like he's always got a lot of perspective on things. And not to say that translates into the basketball court, but those are the kind of things that you want with a good basketball player, and he's shown it. And then I mean, the jumper is wet, bro. It's just it's gotten to a point, and I've said this a bunch of times, like, people say that they're surprised when he misses, and I'm like, I'm surprised if it hits the rim. Like, he just, it's like if it hits the rim, it goes in. I'm like, that was a bad shot, Trey Murphy. But like, because I mean, it just drops in. And so if he is really, if he's gonna be this guy who comes in and hits 6 threes or hits 5 threes because that's just what he does, then I mean, that is, you want to talk about this team being unlocked. I mean, that is just a cheat code. If you have somebody who can shoot 50, 40, 90 and on the same team as Zion and Brandon Ingram, that is a cheat code. There was so many threes missed last season. So many wide open threes missed last season. And I think that if you can just have Trey Murphy and he comes in and be this defensive guy who can shoot threes, I mean, that is literally the player that we always was building to put next to this team last season. And so you may have found it with the 17th pick in the draft. And I just want to know, like, how good is this guy? Are we talking, is he in a run for rookie of the year if he gets the minutes and he gets the shots up next to Brandon Ingram and Zion? Is he in that conversation? And so I think that he can be, if he's going to be shooting that many wide open jump shots, I mean, the goal doesn't move when it goes from preseason to regular season. The court doesn't move. The goal doesn't move. The ball is the same. So if he can come in and hit those threes, man, then I think that is and just be that defensive 3-and-D player, then that's wild to me, man, to think that we went from what we were at to maybe having this guy on the team. So I want to know how good Trey Murphy really is.
I do need to see the team go inside out first, because what I noticed with Trey is even throughout the preseason, as people started guarding him more, shots got tougher. And I don't think he's there yet as far as putting the ball on the ground and going to the basket consistently. And so how do you maximize his value, especially with Zion and not bringing 4 people into the paint? You got to play through JV. You got to play through BI and have them kick out so he has those open shots. Not so much, hey, he's contested, but we know he can shoot, so shoot it anyway. More so make it easy for the rook so that he's shooting a lot of wide open shots.
BI is going to be getting to the rim 10 times what we saw last year. 100%.
Yes.
100%.
The lanes are going to be open, and that's what I think is going to help his playmaking too, because he's so tall, and if he's going to have the ball, and now you can't play him up close because you have all these different players you have to watch. I think that kind of helps his his playmaking, and that'll raise that up to a level too. So Trey's going to help out Brandon Ingram, Zion, and a lot of different players.
Yep, and I wanted to add one thing on TM3, and then I'll share my question. But I mean, you said it a couple times, and it's so easy to rave about his offense because he shot like 60% in the preseason from 3.
Yeah,
that's not going to continue, but that is
obviously
unreal,
right?
Freaking unreal. And the thing I was going to say was, the dude plays defense. God damn. This guy was so needed on this team. I've said it so many times. He's archetypal, and because it's true, he can nail a shot and he can defend like hell. And he puts a little bit of weight on his frame and, continues to learn more about the game as he gets older. He could be one of the best defenders in the league. Easy.
Yes.
I think it'd be a good rebounder as well. You can tell he uses his 6'9". He uses all of it, and he attacks the ball, and that's something you need.
And when he, when he was I'm trying to think right. When he was a freshman in high school, he was, I think, 5'9". When he graduated high school, he was 6'5", and now he's 6'9". So he could very well grow another inch.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, man. That's we got our own version of unicorn. That's why I love it. Love to see it.
So now my question, it kind of encompasses everything. So I'm kind of cheating a little bit, but I'm going to say it anyway. And it's chemistry. So there's a lot of new additions to this roster, 2 rookies, 2 vets in JV and Devonte, and obviously the head coach, Jerron Collins, and then D'Antoni as well, alongside Willie. So it's going to be a big question is how quickly can they develop that chemistry of being comfortable with each other, because you can have all the talent in the world. I mean, the Miami Heat 2010, they started off 9-8. They had LeBron James, D Wade, and Chris Bosh, 3 of the probably top 15, 20 guys in the league at the time. So the question about chemistry, they can start off 5-5. They can start off 4-6, but if they can get it rolling and get comfortable over that time period, and you get rolling and start to feel comfortable with one another, and then Zion comes back, I mean, this team can be scary. This team can be scary. I have one question. Are you guys good on time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good? Okay. Yeah. I always love talking Pels, especially with you boys. This is only our second pod together, for those of you who are wondering. And the Rattler brothers are quickly going up the echelon of my favorite guys.
Appreciate that, man. It's all love. Love coming on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. So the question is, what's the ceiling? What's the floor? What's your ultimate prediction for what the record is for this team? Raph, you can go ahead here.
My answer would have been different if Zion wasn't missing a quarter, 10, however many games. Because I honestly think the ceiling is like a 5 seed. Now with Zion not out, I don't know what that looks like. It depends on how they waver the storm early. Obviously the floor is kind of scary and nobody really wants to know what that happens, because then the team looks totally different next year, maybe. Yeah. As far as record though, where I think they'll land, I still think that they'll get a 7 or 8 seed. I truly believe in the depth on this team. I think it's a lot deeper than what people have either aspirations of or truly think. I think that they could sneak into a 7 or 8 spot. Where they land realistically might be the play-in, but I think they get close. It just depends, to your point, how quickly do they gel? How quickly do they insert Jackson, because they're going to need it? How do they weather this first couple games? Like, are you 5-5? Are you 6-4? Like, do you turn that little tide a little bit better so that by the time Zion gets back, you're humming and you got momentum? Like, you hit your stride early, right? A lot of those things come into play. So I'll tell you this: after the first 5 games, if I can tell on defense that it's a different level, I'll be much more confident in where they finish out.
I like it.
Yeah, very, very similar here. So last season, the Pels were a lot better than last season than people think they were. And I say that because they lost a lot of games like up 10 and like in a like very weird, very in the NBA. Very weird, like cataclysmic ways,
like
right?
15.
Right. It was ridiculous. And so I there's a couple games like the Indiana game, and then like there's like games like the Knicks game where Lonzo leaves Reggie Bullock open, like the games like that, right? So like if they would have won like 5 of those games, or like 6 of those out of, let's say 15, right? If they would have won 6 out of those 15, or 7, let's say half, 7 of those 15, then the Pelicans record looks a lot different last season. And so I say that to say if you take that and you say, okay, maybe they won't lose 15 that week. Maybe they'll lose 8 that week instead of 15, and they'll win the 7 or win the 6. Then you already have a better team than you had last season. And so I think, if they can weather the storm, like Raph said, I think that they can get to a 5 seed. And I think that if they can get to a 5 seed, depending on who that 4 seed, if it's somebody was just resting, or if it's like a true 4 seed, nobody wants to have to deal with Zion and JV in a playoff series. So who knows there. But I think realistically, the floor obviously is they don't make the playoffs. Zion misses way more time than he needs to miss, and things go haywire, and we're all here crying real thug tears. But realistically, I think that they can get into that A seed. I think that they can get into the A seed or the 7 seed, depending on what goes up on top of them. I think that they're a lot better than some teams that people don't want to give them credit for, such as Memphis and San Antonio. I think they might even be better than Portland. I think they might even be better than like players like teams like that. And especially like my brother was talking about, like, I'm not too sold on this Clippers team either.
Not
so
at all.
with a bad year of them with those guys, and as well as no Jamal Murray in Denver, as good as Denver looked like, I mean, Jamal Murray was a really big part of their team. And so you don't know how that's going to go dealing with those injuries. But I think that they can make an AC with the 7 seed probably being right there to grab. This team should be better than last season. Their record should be better. They should look better on the floor, and you should be able to see it in the results in the win-loss record. So floor, probably missing the playoffs out of there, but realistically, I think they can get into an 8-7 seed, with the ceiling being if Zion can come back a little, in the right time, come back with it on his mind, and those guys kind of get down into it, I think that they can get as high as a 5 seed.
I'm pretty much right there with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it sounds kind of shitty, but to go off Garrick, I mean, injuries don't only happen to the Pelicans. Like, who knows? I mean, Luka could go down, and that would destroy the Mavs. Dame could go down. That would destroy the Blazers. PG-13 could go down. That would destroy the Clippers. There's a lot of different variabilities, and obviously none of us are rooting for injuries. None of us want that,
right.
But it's a possibility, and that's a situation where the Pelicans continue to rise in the standings. And, when a lot of people like to say, if everything goes right, nothing ever goes right. Like that is never a thing that happens.
Right.
So, and that nothing. Oh my gosh, how am I going to phrase that right? Everything going right never happens.
Yes. You hit it right on the head.
Luckily, we just happen to be one of the teams that our 27 points per game guy went down. Now we have another guy who can score 25 points per game. Not a lot of teams have that.
And it didn't happen in the middle of the season. It didn't happen at the end of the season.
We
It
actually
happened
have,
early.
we actually have two of them. Because I mean, I'm telling you, if you sleep on JV, he will give you 25 right there, and you'll be like, what just happened?
And Knock can give you 25.
Exactly. And
T.O.
Devonte Graham can give you 25.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Trey might give you 25. You leave him open enough.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And then, I mean, we can get ranting about how good these young guys are and everything once again.
Yeah.
We are an hour and 9 minutes in, so I want to be respectful of these guys' time. Both hardworking guys, and we really appreciate you stopping by, boys.
Absolutely, man. Thank you
Appreciate
for having us. Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon, boys.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right, man.
For those of you who are still on, before you go, make sure you like and subscribe on Facebook, Instagram, all of that. Drop a comment, drop a like. Please, that'd be awesome. Leave a rate and review on Apple Podcasts. And we are sponsored by Hornitos, of course, the official tequila of Boot Crew Media and Pelicans Plus. And lastly, make sure you do this. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PLUS, PLUS. Bet just $5 on any NBA team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code PLUS. That's PLUS plus. This week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized sports betting partner of the NBA. If you're in Louisiana as well, you can still download the app and play for prizes. Must be 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania. New customers only. Minimum is $5 and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So, folks, once again, I am Elliot Clough at Elliot Clough on Twitter. They're Raphael_Rattler, and Garrick_Rattler on Twitter. Go give them a follow. Also, go check out Pels Pod. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. I am Elliot Clough at Elliot Clough on Twitter, and this was Pelicans Plus.